What's up, baseball fans? Tigers opening day is tomorrow against the Chicago White Sox, Friday, April 4th, 1:10 p.m. It's going to be a good one. I think the weather's supposed to be crappy, but, that's typical here in the state of Michigan. But, the Tigers opening day, Comerica Park against their division rival, the Chicago White Sox. Unfortunately, the Tigers lost yesterday against the Seattle Mariners 3-2, but they take 2 out of 3 against the Seattle Mariners on the West Coast. I mean, obviously, all you baseball fanatics know that the Detroit Tigers started their season on the West Coast, going up against the defending World Series champions, the LA Dodgers, who, by the way, are 8-0, longest winning streak for any defending World Series champion in MLB history. They look fantastic. Well, it's obvious, right? Because when you have the best player in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, and he hits a walk-off homer like he's supposed to do, success is going to be not that hard to find for the Dodgers. So it was very tough for the Tigers to start off the season on the West Coast. But, they get 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. Can't complain about that. So, tomorrow during the day, 1:10 p.m., opening day at Comerica Park. Get your kids out of school and go watch the ball game in that crappy weather if you can. So, welcome back to the show. Guys time. Zach Bryce, the Bryce is here, and we're going to talk about these Detroit Tigers because, as I mentioned last week, the Bryce covering baseball on Guys Time. Are you kidding me? Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. We're a sports podcast. We cover everything that's relevant, right? And the Tigers are relevant because, as you remember, they had that late push last season. They got into the playoffs, but unfortunately they lost to the Cleveland Guardians in the ALDS. But at the beginning of the year, all you Tigers fans, these guys were awful. They were losing games. They weren't playing. They weren't scoring runs. But then after the All-Star game, we started to pick up, and we got enough wins to make it to the playoffs. The first playoff appearance during A.J. Hinch's managerial career. So it was nice to see that. But now it's a new year. It's 2025. And anything can happen. You got 100 plus games, 162 games total. You got 100 plus games to go. It's very early in the season, so don't want to get your hopes up. Don't want to get too excited. But we got the Chicago White Sox tomorrow. We got to handle our business. We got to beat them. They're a division rival. Let's get that home opener win tomorrow afternoon. So the Detroit Tigers got the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox, they started off the season against the Los Angeles Angels, and they dropped 2 out of 3 against them. And then they opened up a division matchup against the Minnesota Twins, one of the best teams last year, and they lost 2 out of 3 against those guys. So Chicago's coming into this game ready to pounce on the Tigers, but we're going to fight back because that's how Detroit does it. So you have that. We got to talk about Detroit's teams here real quick. So Tigers opening day. So like I said, we got Tigers and White Sox tomorrow, Friday, April 4th, 1:10 p.m. Jack Flaherty makes the start for Detroit. He comes back. He makes his return to the Motor City. He gets a start. He won a World Series with the Dodgers last year. You would think he would stay there, but maybe, they couldn't get a deal done. So he's a World Series champion, so maybe he brings that experience. Maybe he learns some things with the Dodgers. It's like, hey, bring that winning culture, bring that World Series championship mindset to this Detroit Tigers team. We'll see how he does tomorrow. He played for the Tigers in the first half of last year, 2024, before being traded to the Dodgers last July. And then obviously he went on to win a World Series with them. But in those 18 starts with Detroit last year, he was 7.5. He had a 2.95 ERA, and he had 133 strikeouts. So he's a good pitcher. He's reliable. He can do some damage. He does his job. It should be an interesting one tomorrow. But he gets his first start. He gets the home opener start for the Detroit Tigers. He's going up against Chicago's Jonathan Cannon, who made his debut last season. He had a 5-10 record with a 4.31 ERA, 96 strikeouts. The Chicago White Sox, I remember watching highlights of this team and just watching the scores. This team was awful. God-awful, horrible, disgusting. They were the worst team in professional baseball. They look absolutely horrendous. And going back to last season for Chicago, they had the worst record in modern MLB history, 41 wins and 121 losses. Their first 25 games. All right, listen to this one. The first 25 games last year, they were 3-22. 3 wins and 22 losses in their first 25 games last season. Like, oh my God. I mean, you got to feel bad for that franchise. You got to feel bad for that fan base. Like, they had to watch this garbage. They had to watch this crap. I mean, 3-22 your first 25 games. What are you doing? I mean, yeah, we've been there. 2003, remember? Yeah, we lost 19 games that season. Yeah, we've been there. So, but that was 22 years ago. So times have changed for sure. But 41 wins, 121 losses to finish the season. That's pathetic. That's horrible. That's god awful. And then they also made history. The Chicago White Sox did last year. They got shut out 8 times in their first 22 games. So you don't even score a single run in 8 out of your first 22 games. You got shut out 8 times in your first 22 games last season. That's, oof. I mean, management, ownership, something. How can you feel good about yourself showing that product on the field in front of those fans on TV and be proud of it? That's horrible. And like I said, we've been there. So, I guess it happens to some franchises. But yeah, the Chicago White Sox, they were god-awful last year. So I hope when maybe the tides have changed, maybe they can make a push. I don't know. Too early to tell. Right now, we've only been in the regular season for a few weeks, almost a month actually, because you had that Tokyo series with the Dodgers and the Cubs. They opened up the series way out there in Tokyo, Japan. But for the Chicago White Sox, for the Detroit Tigers, a little too early to tell. See what these teams can do. But Chicago, man, they just got to forget about last year and keep going, push forward. So, yeah, we got to talk about the Tigers, their team's stats, the individual stats for both these ball clubs. So, the Detroit Tigers, batting average, team batting average, they come in .25 ERA. They have 25 runs, 51 hits, 5 home runs, and a .348 on base percentage. So, as a team, they're doing all right. So far. Strikeouts a little too much that I like to see from some of the star players. We'll get to them in a little bit. But like I said, too early to tell. Tigers, they have a good chance of beating the White Sox tomorrow in the afternoon. So I got them winning this game just to spoil it for you guys. I usually, after I do all the stats and the information, I give my picks for teams, baseball, football, basketball, whatever the case may be, UFC, whatever. But the Tigers are going to win tomorrow. I think Jack Flaherty, with his experience, winning the World Series with the Dodgers, playing for us. He knows this organization. He knows what he needs to do. But I think he's going to have a good game tomorrow. The elements, it's supposed to be a rain. They're calling for rain tomorrow. Not the greatest for weather, but like I said, it's Michigan. It happens. It's April. So April showers bring May flowers, right? One of the classic old sayings out there. But I think Jack Flaherty is going to do a fantastic job tomorrow. So how the Tigers start the season? How did we get to this point? So the Tigers, they got swept by the World Series champions, the Dodgers. Obviously, they're the best team in baseball after 8 games. 8-0, first time in MLB history. The longest winning streak for a defending World Series champion in MLB history. So, they're probably they have the mindset that they're going for another World Series run, which is very possible if everyone stays healthy on that team. You got Mookie Betts, you got Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman. These guys are fantastic. That bullpen is dangerous. And then, this started last Thursday, the Tigers playing against the Dodgers. Last Thursday, March 27th. And then, like I mentioned before, they lost yesterday. They lost last night against the Mariners, 3-2. But they won 2 out of 3 against the Mariners. So not too bad. I'll take that. I can accept that. Like I said, there's a lot of games ahead, 100-plus games. Lots to go over. We got to see more of this team. Like I said, around the All-Star break, these guys are not above 500. We're in trouble. We got to pick it up this year. Riley Green's got to pick it up. Spencer Torkelson, a lot of criticism from him. It's like he's not doing what he's supposed to do as a MLB player, a high draft pick from many years ago. He needs to step up. Javi Baez, he's actually not doing too bad so far. He's got to show up in this series, and he's definitely got to show up this season after signing that ridiculous, that god-awful, that crazy 6-year, $140 million contract with the Tigers after the 2021 season 4 years ago. He needs to step up this year as well. That bullpen looking pretty good. They got to step up. All these guys need to step up. A.J. Hinch, this is his 5th year at the helm. He needs to step up as well. He needs to handle his business. So we'll see what happens with the Tigers throughout the season. But tomorrow against the White Sox, they're going to get that win. They're going to beat the White Sox. I think they're going to win 5-3. That'll be my final score. I think the bats are going to go. Our bullpen's going to step up. It's going to be a great victory for the Detroit Tigers. So now we got to talk about the White Sox. How did it get to this point? So they started off the season losing 2 out of 3 against the Angels, as I mentioned. And then they dropped the game yesterday against the Twins. So they lost 2 out of 3 against the Minnesota Twins, another AL Central rival for both the Tigers and the White Sox. So now they're here playing the Tigers. And, after last season's disaster, after last season's crap show, let it rip, Chicago. I mean, just go out there and play baseball. So we got to talk about Detroit Tigers, a couple of their players. Riley Green, so far this season, he's got 10 strikeouts, like I said earlier. You got to clean those up. We can't see that from Riley Green. Riley Green is one of our best players. He's a fan favorite. Got to get rid of those strikeouts. But, yeah, he has 10 strikeouts, .296 batting average. Spencer Torkelson, he has 9 strikeouts with a .318 batting average. Javi Baez, so far this year, after 8 games, he only has 1 strikeout and he's batting .300. Not bad. But, we need to get some home runs, score some runs, get your ass on base. And then Gleyber Torres, second baseman that we got from the Yankees. He signed that 1-year deal for $15 million last season, or end of December last year. He's out with a left oblique strain, so he's on the 10-day IL injured list. They don't call it disabled list anymore. It is what it is. But he's out, so that's unfortunate. So to take his place, we've seen Colt Keith come and play second base in favor of Gleyber Torres since he's hurt. And Colt Keith, he's batting 176 right now. Not the greatest, but I think he's going to pick it up. A lot of star players, a lot of players for the Detroit Tigers have opportunities to step up in the series against the Chicago White Sox. They need to, right? I would like to see a sweep of the Chicago White Sox, but it's Chicago. It's a division game, division rival. Anything can happen. It's baseball. So we'll see what happens with the Detroit Tigers tomorrow against the Chicago White Sox. So you have that going on. So now A.J. Hinch. This is his 5th year as the manager of the Detroit Tigers. He used to play for the Tigers back in the 2003 season, the worst season in Detroit Tigers history. But now he's been the manager since the 2021 season. He won a World Series with the Astros. Back in 2017, the whole cheating scandal, sign stealing scandal. We all know what happened there. But he took his team to the playoffs for the first time last season during his career. But as I mentioned, they lost to the Cleveland Guardians in the ALDS. But yeah, they had that late run after the All-Star break, and they were playing great baseball. So you have that, and then now you got the White Sox, Will Venable coming in, his first season as the Chicago White Sox manager, after Pedro Grifol got fired after that horrible, disastrous, disgusting, embarrassing 2024 season. He's the 43rd manager in White Sox history. And the Chicago White Sox are one of the oldest teams in baseball. So 43 managers, when you're that old of a franchise, it makes sense. But it just seems like every year or every other year, a manager from the Chicago White Sox is getting fired because they're just god-awful at what they do. So hopefully Will Venable can bring a winning culture to this team. They absolutely need it after last year's disastrous season. Only winning 41 games. That's disgusting. Losing 121 of those games. 162 games, man. You only win 41 of those. Yeah, there's something wrong there. So hopefully Will Venable, first year at the helm for the Chicago White Sox, hopefully he can step it up for this team. But yeah, the Chicago White Sox, talk about them a little bit. Seems like Andrew Benintendi, left fielder, leads the team in all stats. He's got a .333 batting average, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, on base percentage of .391, and he has 7 hits. So it seems like this guy's a star player for the Chicago White Sox. And then you got Luis Robert Jr., center fielder, Miguel Vargas, third baseman, and then you got Andrew Vaughn playing first base. So you got some players here, but Andrew Benintendi, obviously the star player. He might have a good series here against the Tigers, but yeah, it's gonna be exciting tomorrow. And Detroit Tigers and the Chicago White Sox tomorrow, opening day for the Detroit Tigers. So check it out tomorrow, baseball fans. I got my hat on. Jack Flaherty gets the start. He's going up against Jonathan Cannon. Should be a great matchup. 2 divisional rivals. Detroit Tigers home opener, opening day for the Detroit Tigers 2025 tomorrow, Friday, April 4th, 1:10 p.m. at Comerica Park. Watch the game, place some bets, and have a good time if you guys are going there. It should be an interesting one. So that's the Tigers. That's baseball. Yeah, I know. The Bry's opening the podcast with baseball. What kind of universe are we living in? Like I said, anything relevant, anything sports related, we cover it here. So that's baseball. Now we got to hop over to the Final Four. So March Madness tournament, NCAA men's basketball tournament is still going on. We got the Final Four this Saturday starting at 6:09 p.m. on CBS. So all number 1 seeds make it. All number 1 seeds are the only 4 left. And then there were 4. And they're all number 1 seeds. And that's the first time since 2008 that all number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four. And obviously Kansas ended up winning the championship that year. But you had Memphis there, North Carolina, and UCLA. Those were your number 1 seeds back in 2008. And 2008, I was 11 years old when that was going on. So long time. It's been 17 years since the last time we saw all number 1 seeds go to the Final Four. And only the second time in history all number 1 seeds go to the Final Four. So this Final Four is going to be very special. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be very interesting how all these teams compete this Saturday night. But yeah, all number 1 seeds. You got Florida and Auburn. You got Houston and Duke. And like I've been saying the past couple weeks here on Guys Time, Duke is the team to beat. I mean, every team they played so far in this tournament, they dominated. I mean, I really don't think they've been tested yet. It looked like Alabama might have tested them early in that matchup, but then it's just like, oh, those are the Duke Blue Devils we know and appreciate, right? They came back and they won by 20 against the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Elite Eight. So they're still the team to beat, in my opinion. Florida, decent team, but they have some flaws. Auburn, they've been tested a couple times during this tournament, but Duke is one of those teams that I think they swept the board so far coming into the Final Four. They are the team to beat, and like I said, I'm not changing my mind. The Duke Blue Devils will win the national championship next Monday in San Antonio, Texas. So you have that. All number 1 seeds, first time since 2008. I was 11 years old. I'm 28 now, 17 years ago. But now the second time only in NCAA men's basketball tournament history that all number 1 seeds have made it to the dance. Final Four. We got the first game we got to talk about. The Florida Gators going against the Auburn Tigers. 6:09 p.m. on CBS. So Florida, they open up as a 2.5-point favorite against the Tigers. As a team, so far in this tournament, they've averaged 85.4 points per game. Their field goal percentage is 47.3%. Rebounds per game, 41.9%. And they won 10 in a row. So they're on a great winning streak, these Florida Gators. And they're led by their star player, Walter Clayton Jr., who on the season averages 18 points per game, 44.6% field goal percentage. Free throw percentage is 86.5. He's a senior guard, one of the best basketball players I've seen in the tournament so far. And how did he get to this point? How did the Florida Gators get to the Final Four? So They beat Texas Tech 84-79. And you know what? Texas Tech, they were giving the Gators a really tough time. I mean, there was a point in that game where Texas Tech was up by 10 points against the Gators. I mean, they were just rebounding the ball. They were making the shots. They were they were moving up and down that court. The Gators had no idea what the hell to do. But they eventually came back. Walter Clayton Jr. dropping a 30 points against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And then that was it. And then a couple other stats for this game. So for free throw percentage, the Texas Tech Red Raiders only shot 53.8% versus Florida's 92.6%. That is absolutely phenomenal for a free throw percentage. They were making most of their free throws, and that's the difference. And I've said it before on the podcast. Those free throws, those rebounds are critical in this tournament. Not just in college basketball or basketball in general, but for March Madness, if you don't make the free throws, if you don't get the rebounds, you're going to lose. You're going to have a really tough time trying to find success and win games if you can't make the free throws and get your rebounds. But 92.6% free throw percentage for the Florida Gators against the Texas Tech Red Raiders, unbelievable. And then Florida had 42 total rebounds versus Texas Tech's 35, so they won the rebound battle. They won the free throw battle. Like I said, they came back after being down by 10 at one point against Texas Tech, and the Gators handled their business. And then, as I mentioned, Walter Clayton Jr. dropping a 30-burger. You need to. He's your guy. In those situations, you give the ball to your best guy. Walter Clayton Jr. is that guy, and we'll see probably more of him against Auburn Saturday night, 6:09 p.m. on CBS. The first game of the Final Four matchups there. So that's the Florida Gators. They're here, and they're looking good. Now we got to talk about the Auburn Tigers, number one seed, number one team in the country for most of the season. And now they come to a situation for the season, they average 83.2 points per game, 47.7 field goal percentage, 37.6 rebounds per game on average. And they won 4 coming into this game against the Florida Gators. And they're also led by a star player, Johni Broome. Excuse me. I've been mispronouncing his name for like the past 3 weeks. I do apologize. It's Johni Broome, not Johnny Broome. It's Johni Broome. I've heard the announcers say it, so we're gonna get that right. Johni Broome, star player for Auburn Tigers on the season, 18.7 points per game, 51.2% field goal percentage, 59.3 free throw percentage. He's 6'10", 240 pounds. This guy's a beast. He's a senior. That size advantage could definitely play a factor against the Florida Gators Saturday night. But how did the Auburn Tigers get to this point? How did they get to the Final Four? Well, they beat Michigan State, completely dominated. They beat MSU in the Elite Eight. They won 70-64. They led by 15 points at one point. It just seems like a mismatch. Like Michigan State could not make a basket to save their life. They were getting, they were getting rebounded by the Auburn Tigers numerous times. They couldn't make the free throws, and when you do that against a team like Auburn, you're gonna lose. You're gonna struggle, and it's hard to come back and compete against a team like Auburn when you're missing those opportunities. So you had that going on. Field goal percentage for the Auburn Tigers, 42.6 versus MSU's 34.4. As I mentioned, MSU really struggled. They were having a really tough time making field goals in that game against the Auburn Tigers. And then Johni Broome, he was 10 for 13 for field goals. Absolutely phenomenal. He had 14 rebounds, 25 points. This guy was everywhere. He put his team on his back as he got hurt. He injured his ankle. He came back in the game. He finished the game, and he was absolutely phenomenal. So that was a great performance by Johni Broome. We're going to see him versus Walter Clayton Jr. This is a great matchup. What a great way to start off the Final Four with these two teams. This is going to be a great game, in my opinion, the Florida Gators and the Auburn Tigers. So who's going to win this one? I got the Florida Gators actually winning this one. I like what they did against Texas Tech, man. They were down by 10. They came back, and The free throw percentage was great. They out-rebounded the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that against Auburn. But Auburn's going to fight, man. You got Johni Broome. He's a senior. He wants a championship before he leaves, goes to the NFL or wherever he goes after Auburn, after this tournament, because, he's definitely leaving. But yeah, Johni Broome, expect a lot of great things from him in this game against Florida. But yeah, I like this matchup. This is a very interesting matchup, a very exciting matchup. But I got the Florida Gators winning this one against the Auburn Tigers. So place your bets. That's going to be a good one. Florida opens up as a 2.5-point favorite. I like the Florida Gators winning that one. So you got Florida, Auburn, 6:09 p.m. this Saturday on CBS. So check that one out. Florida Gators head coach Todd Golden, his third year, going up against Bruce Pearl, Auburn's coach. He's been there for 11 years. I remember when Bruce Pearl used to coach Tennessee, and I mentioned that earlier. I mean, that seemed like centuries ago, because I can't believe he's already been at Auburn for 11 years now. But yeah, Florida. This is their first Final Four since 2014. And to put that into some perspective, I was a junior in high school the last time the Florida Gators made it to a Final Four. And then, obviously, you remember that 2014 season. They lost as a number 1 seed. So they were the number 1 seed 11 years ago, the Florida Gators were. They lost to number 7 UConn, 63-53, and UConn ended up winning the championship under Kevin Holly. Great season for the UConn Huskies that year. It was awesome to watch them win the championship. But yeah, that was the last time Florida made it to a Final Four, 2014, 11 years ago. So Florida's got to capitalize. They got to take advantage of this opportunity. And now we got to go to Auburn. So Auburn, their first Final Four appearance since 2019. I was graduating college last time Auburn went to the Final Four. And they ended up losing to the defending champions, the Virginia Cavaliers, 63-62. Very close game. I actually do remember watching that game. It was crazy. And at that time, back in 2019 for the Auburn Tigers, that was their first Final Four. So they have their second Final Four this Saturday night. Auburn Tigers do. So good for them. History being made. But yeah, Auburn's first Final Four appearance since 2019. The Florida Gators' first Final Four appearance since 2014. 5 years apart. So both teams ready to punch their ticket to the national championship game Monday night in San Antonio, Texas. So that's the first game. Check it out. Florida Gators, Auburn Tigers, going to be a good one. Now, the second game of the Final Four matchups on CBS, 8:49 approximate. It depends how long the Florida Gators and Auburn Tigers game does. It might get pushed back, but it's going to be a late night for the Houston Cougars and Duke Blue Devils game. But 8:49 p.m. CBS approximate time. That's the second game going on Saturday night. So the Houston Cougars, as a team this year, they're scoring 74 points per game. Their field goal percentage is 45.4%. They're averaging 36.7 rebounds per game. They've won 17 straight coming into the Final Four. And how did he get to this point? Well, they beat Tennessee 69-50, absolutely dominated. I mean, Tennessee, they did not have a single lead against the Houston Cougars. Yeah, not a single lead. Like that rarely happens in college basketball. But when you're in the Elite Eight and you can't even get a lead, well, you're not going to have much success. And Tennessee got dominated. 69-50 win for the Houston Cougars in the Elite Eight. Houston shot 42.4% field goals, and then they had 3-pointers of 36%. They made all their free throws. Houston did. They shot 100% from the free throw line. That's not a recipe for winning. I don't know what is. That's absolutely phenomenal, especially in March Madness. Like I said, shooting those free throws is key. And that's what Houston did. They made all their free throws. 100% completion rate from the free throw line for the Houston Texans. Or not Texans, the Houston Cougars. Excuse me. So good for them. They had 42 rebounds. They had a 22-point lead at one point. And like I mentioned, Tennessee did not have a single lead in this game against Houston. Yeah, you're not going to be successful if you can't have a lead. So Tennessee, see you later. Bye-bye. You had your opportunity. Now Houston's making it to the Final Four. And they're led by L.J. Cryer, who his season stats, he's shooting 15.4 points per game on average, 40.9 field goal percentage, and 91.6 free throw percentage. So this is their guy, another senior. Another great matchup going up against Duke and Cooper Flagg. We'll get to them in a little bit, but L.J. Cryer, another star player from this tournament. We'll see how he does against Duke. Duke is a dominant team. They are the kings. They are the workhorses. So we'll see how L.J. Cryer can do against Duke in that awesome squad for the Blue Devils. So the game against Tennessee, he had 17 points. L.J. Cryer did. So he led the team in points. So he did his job. He did what he needed to do. But we're going to need more because you're going up against Duke Blue Devils. You're going up against the juggernauts of college basketball. So L.J. Cryer, we'll see what he can do. But dropping 17 against Tennessee, that is good. He led the team in points. But now you're going up against Duke. And you got to break your end game. So Houston, Final Four, going up against the Duke Blue Devils. So on the season, they're shooting about 83.4 or 83.7 points per game. About 84 points per game. They like to shoot. They don't miss too much. 49.6 field goal percentage. They average about 38.3 rebounds per game. They won 15 straight coming into this game against Houston. And they have not lost. They didn't lose a single game in the month of March. So regular season, the start of March Madness, Duke has been undefeated for 1 month. If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what will, because that's dominance at its finest moment. But yeah, they didn't lose a single match. They didn't lose a single game in the month of March. So Duke, they're riding high. 15 wins. They want that national championship. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. So how did the Blue Devils get to this point? Well, they beat Alabama, as I mentioned. They won 85-65. They won by 20. Looked absolutely dominant in the Elite Eight against the Alabama Crimson Tide. 53.6 field goal percentage for the Blue Devils. 86.4 free throw percentage. So those free throws came in handy. 41 rebounds for the Blue Devils. 34 of them came on the defensive side. So they're getting their rebounds. Well, when you have a couple of 7-footers, Cooper Flagg and Con Knipple, you have Common Maluwach as well, another freshman, 7-footer, and you can get those rebounds. Yeah, you're going to rebound. You're going to get a lot of rebounds in the game. But yeah, 34 of those rebounds out of those 41 total rebounds for the Blue Devils were on the defensive side. At one point in this game, they had a 20-point lead. And they ended up winning by 20. So Duke was on fire. Alabama, just like Tennessee, did not have a single lead in this game against the Duke Blue Devils. So what's going on there? Is this an SEC problem for college basketball in the Elite Eight when you don't even have a single lead against the Houston Cougars or the Duke Blue Devils? What's going on there? Because Tennessee didn't have a single lead against Houston and Alabama didn't have a single lead against Duke. So maybe it's an SEC problem. I don't know. They got to clean that up, but they didn't have a single lead in this game as well. Crazy stat, but Duke looking absolutely phenomenal. And they're led by their freshman sensation, Cooper Flagg, on the season. 18.9 points per game, 48.3 field goal percentage, 83.4 free throw percentage. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. The game against Bama, he had 9 rebounds, 6 for 16 field goals, and 16 points. So not the greatest, but not too bad. He's still contributing. Freshman sensation, almost 7 feet tall. Great player, fun to watch. But he also has some help. He has a supporting cast. And you guys remember, I mentioned that a couple weeks ago. And he has a great supporting cast. He has 2 freshmen. Yeah, not seniors, not juniors. 2 freshmen helping him out. So all freshmen, because Cooper Flagg's a freshman. Con Knipple, freshman. He had 21 points against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then you got Common Maluwach. Cameron Maluwach, excuse me. He's a freshman, 7 foot 2 inches, 250 pounds. This guy's a brick wall from South Sudan. 6 for 7 field goal percentage. And then he had 14 points. So that supporting cast really helped out Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg didn't have to do all the work because Con Knipple dropped the 21 burger, and then Common Maluach went for 6 for 7 from the field goal range and dropped 14 points there. So all freshmen, crazy enough, no seniors, no juniors, all freshmen doing all this against Alabama, the Alabama Crimson Tide. I mean, the Duke Blue Devils. I'm telling you, dude, watch out for this team. This team's going to do some great things in this game against the Houston Cougars. So now we got to talk about the coaches. So Jon Scheyer, his 4th year being the head coach at Duke. He won the national championship under Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, back in 2010. I was in junior high when that happened. And for the Duke Blue Devils, this is their 18th Final Four appearance. 18 of those of Final Four. It's their first Final Four since 2022. They lost to their rival, the North Carolina Tar Heels, 81-77. I actually remember that game. It was a great game. You know, iconic rivalry, Duke, North Carolina, the Battle of North Carolina, like I like to call it. But yeah, North Carolina got the best of them that year in the Final Four, 2022. But overall, Duke has made 18 Final Four appearances, and it's their first one without Coach K at the helm. And that was the first time in 47 years. So since 1978, the Duke Blue Devils make it to the Final Four without Coach K being the main guy, being the captain of this team, the head coach. And under Coach K, he took this Duke Blue Devils team to 13 Final Fours under his watch. So that's absolutely phenomenal. So the last time Duke made the Final Four without Coach K, there was no three-point arc. That's how long ago it was. There was no three-point arc, no shot clock. There was only 7 teams in the ACC, and there was only 32 spots in the tournament. You got 64 now. So it's been a really long time since Duke made it to the Final Four without Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, being the captain of this team. I read this on USA or NCAA.com. I thought, you know, it'd be fun to tie that in as we're talking about the Final Four. But yeah, Mike Krzyzewski, he was at Duke for over 40 years, one of the best coaches, not in just college basketball history, but in the history of sports. 13 Final Fours under his belt, 5 national championships under his belt, on his watch. But yeah, this is the first time that Duke, in 47 years, this is the first time in 47 years that Duke has made it to the Final Four without Coach K. And that's crazy. That's unbelievable. So good for Duke. They're going up against Houston. Houston's a tough team, but I got Duke winning this one. That's my second pick. So you got Duke and Florida in the national championship game Monday night in San Antonio, Texas. Those are my picks. So I'll let you guys decide on that. But yeah, this is crazy. Houston, their first Final Four appearance since 2021. They lost to Baylor that year, 78-59. And this is the 7th Final Four for the Houston Cougars. So good for them. This is going to be a great matchup. I got the Duke Blue Devils handling their business, doing what they need to do. And it's going to be the Duke Blue Devils versus the Florida Gators in the national championship game Monday night on CBS. 8:49 tip-off, I do believe, in San Antonio, Texas. It's going to be a great matchup. So watch Final Four this weekend. Watch some baseball. You got the Tigers opening day. Wear your hats. You know, take the day off of work. Get your kids out of school. Go to Comerica Park and watch the Tigers go up against the Chicago White Sox. You got hockey on. You know, Alexander Ovechkin, 3 goals away from passing the great one himself, Wayne Gretzky, on the all-time goals list in NHL history. He needs 3 more, guys. He's going to get it. I mean, Alexander Ovechkin, it seems like that's all he does is score goals. I mean, he scores like 40-plus goals every single season. And the guy's 40 years old, so good for him. But he's going to surpass the record, and when he does, the Bryce is definitely going to watch that game because I like being a part of history and witnessing history, especially when it comes to sports, right? Something to talk about for the podcast. But he's going to pass the great one, Wayne Gretzky. You know, records are meant to be broken. And Alexander Ovechkin, he definitely deserves it. So 3 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky on the all-time goals list for the NHL. The Red Wings lost against the St. Louis Blues in overtime the other night. They got the Carolina Panthers coming up. Or Panthers, Jesus. The Carolina Hurricanes, excuse me. Yeah, I know, I'm thinking about football. My apologies. They got the Carolina Hurricanes coming up. They just got done destroying the Washington Capitals last night. 5-1 at home. Carolina, one of the best teams in the NHL. Can we just say that the Red Wings are done? I mean, they had the opportunity to get 2 points against the St. Louis Blues because it didn't help us anyway, because you had Montreal winning Tuesday night, and then you had the Columbus Blue Jackets, 2 teams who are above us in the wild card spot on Tuesday night as well. So it really didn't help us, but can we say that the Detroit Red Wings' chances of making the playoffs are over? Yeah, I think we can give it a rest. I hate to say it, but I mean they've had opportunities. After the Four Nations face-off tournament, they just decided not to play hockey anymore, and that's crazy when you have two separate 7-game winning streaks, and then you had like a 4 or 5 game winning streak as well, and you still can't make it to the playoffs. You still can't get a wild card spot. And so if the Detroit Red Wings do miss the playoffs, it'll be the 9th straight season that the Red Wings don't make it to the playoffs. After making it to the playoffs 25 years straight, from 1991 to 2016, we made it to the playoffs. We were spoiled. And I said it numerous times on this podcast, we were spoiled growing up as a teenager. We saw the Red Wings go to the playoffs every single year. But 9 straight years without a playoff appearance, that's unacceptable. Especially when you got the nickname Hockey Town. Like, how embarrassing is that? And Steve Yzerman, love the guy. One of the greatest players ever in hockey history. He's a Detroit sports icon. I don't care what people say, he is. But as a general manager, this is his 6th season as the GM. What are you doing, Stevie? The Yzer plan, obviously, it's not working. And I tried to back this guy up numerous times on this podcast. I can't do it no more. 6 years, no playoff appearance, nothing to do at the trade deadline. You don't do anything during the offseason trying to make the team better. Look at Washington. They were in the same spot we were. They made it to the playoffs. Look at them now. They're one of the best teams in the NHL. So don't tell me it's not possible. It's either you don't want to spend the money or you're being handcuffed by ownership. I mean, what is it? Please tell me, because as a Detroit Red Wings fan, and I'm speaking of all Red Wings fans out there, this is extremely frustrating. I'm getting sick and tired of it. 9 straight seasons without a playoff appearance, that's unacceptable. Especially when you got the nickname Hockey Town. Figure it out. Because it's stupid. So Red Wings, they got the Carolina Hurricanes. I don't know why I keep saying Panthers. Stop thinking about football, Zach. I know we got the draft coming up in a few weeks, and we'll talk about that in the next episodes here in a couple of weeks. But they're going up against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Detroit Red Wings are one of the best teams in the NHL. We got to play the Florida Panthers twice. I think we got to play the Dallas Stars too. All these teams are in the playoffs. May I remind you, are about to make it to the playoffs. Have a good enough record, have enough points to make it to the playoffs. So our schedule is brutal. I just don't see the Red Wings making it to the wild card spot. I mean, I think they're 3 or 4 points out from the wild card spot. You have Montreal, you got that 2nd spot, and then Ottawa's got that top spot, and they're not going anywhere. Those guys are playing great hockey, but yeah, I think it's just another disappointing year for the Detroit Red Wings. I hate to say it, but you gotta wake up and smell the roses sometimes. So you have that going on. So yeah, watch some hockey if you want. You got Detroit Tigers opening day, their home opener tomorrow, 1:10 p.m. against the Chicago White Sox. You got the Final Four games starting Saturday night, 6:09 on CBS, with the Florida Gators going up against the Auburn Tigers. And then you got the Duke Blue Devils going up against the Houston Cougars. 2 great matchups. I got the Florida Gators and the Duke Blue Devils going to the championship game, and I got Duke winning the national championship. So you got that going on. But we got to end today's episode of Guys Time talking about boxing. So boxing coming out of New Way Training Center right here in Clinton Township, Michigan. I've been saying Macomb. It's Clinton Township, Michigan. Let's get it right. But Savannah Tini, Tuesday night. She moves to 4-0 on her professional boxing career after a unanimous decision win Tuesday night in Nashville, Tennessee. Country Box Promotions. It's a mix of boxing and country music. Crazy concept. It's a weird concept, but whatever. If it works, it works. But yeah, she defeated Jocelyn Shade. Became 4-0 as a result in her pro career. She looked absolutely phenomenal. I watched this fight, and I was seeing a lot of things. I mean, her head movement was great. Her jab was phenomenal. She was switching stances from orthodox to southpaw. She had the Philly shell boxing stance or defensive stance. You know, a lot of boxers use that. I've seen Canelo Alvarez use it. I've seen Floyd Mayweather use it when, you know, obviously he was the, you know, undefeated boxer in the world. You know, a lot of pro boxers use it. But yeah, she was throwing everything at Jocelyn Shade. And then Jocelyn she landed a couple shots. And, you know, she hung in there for 6 rounds against Savannah Tini. But Savannah looked absolutely phenomenal. And what a performance by Savannah. So Savannah, congratulations. 4-0. You kicked ass. You handled your business like we all knew you were. You know, we all knew you were going to handle your business. So good for you. You moved to 4-0 on your professional career. But I was watching this fight, and the lead announcer, the announcing team, I hate to trash people, but they were hot garbage. They really were, because the lead announcer kept mispronouncing Savannah's name. And the other two, the color commentators, you know, co-announcers, whatever you want to call them, they were saying her name right. So the lead announcer, your job as the lead announcer, you're the captain of the ship. You got to lead this team to success. And you kept on saying Savannah, Savannah, Savannah. It's Savannah. Get it right, dude. She is a professional boxer. Your job as the lead announcer is to get names right, pronounce names right, and get your information. Get your information before the fight starts or before the event starts. These guys were saying, oh, does she have an amateur record? Or maybe she spars a lot in the ring. No, she has an amateur record. You know, she competed at nationals. She was a semifinalist at the National Golden Gloves a couple years ago. She's a Golden Gloves champ, Metro Detroit Golden Gloves champ. Yeah. See, I mean, it's simple. You ask her questions like that. You gather any information. You mention that information during the podcast, and boom, oh my God, I did my job right. But these guys were clueless, man. They had no idea who Savannah Tini is. They had no idea who she was. And they showed a lot of favoritism towards Jocelyn Shade for some reason. I don't know. They kept on mentioning her age. Oh, she's 42 years old, you know, fighting a much younger fighter. But she wasn't even from Tennessee. She was from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So where's why the favoritism? I didn't understand it. I thought it was a horrible job by the announcers. That's my opinion. But Savannah, not Savannah, Savannah Tini, congrats, my friend. You did absolutely phenomenal. We're proud of you here at New Way Training Center. I'm sure Coach Bobby Curtis and Coach Izzy Curtis are really proud of you as well. Anthony Papillo, he has a fight coming up tomorrow, actually. So big sports day tomorrow, if you guys are paying attention. And then Kamel Macklib, we'll get to him in a little bit. But everyone at New Way. Everyone that trains there, all Savannah Tini's family, her friends, her husband, everybody. What a great performance by Savannah. So congrats, Savannah, to getting the 4-0 on your professional boxing career. You looked absolutely fantastic. It was a great fight, and you looked amazing. So Savannah moves to 4-0 on her professional boxing career. So you had that going on. Those announcers need to do a better job commentating fights, because that was god-awful. It was... You know, I wanted to throw my phone at the wall. I was getting so frustrated with the commentating team. So, commentating team, announcers, and the lead play-by-play guy, do better. Because at least the announcer in the ring pronounced Savannah Tini's name right, because that's what you're supposed to do as a professional. So, you got to fix that. So, you had that going on. Savannah Tini moves on to 4-0 in her professional boxing career. Good for her. Congratulations, Savannah. You did a hell of a job. You looked absolutely fantastic. So you had that going on. Now we got Anthony Papillo. His second pro fight, Friday, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. The fight card starts, so he has a second pro fight. He's fighting at the Radisson Convention Center in Southfield, Michigan. And for his opponent, all I have to say is good luck, because that guy, he throws hard. When we sparred, he was throwing 50%. He could have killed me if he wanted to. I mean, this is a big boy. I mean, he has a hell of a jab. You know, he has a lot of good power shots. I mean, I feel bad for his opponent tomorrow night, but you got Anthony Popillo tomorrow, his second pro fight, Radisson Convention Center in Southfield, Michigan. Tickets are going fast, so message him on Instagram, Facebook, whatever you got to do. You know, get his information. His handle is at Anthony Popillo. So follow him on Instagram. Like I said, follow him on Facebook. Get those tickets. It's going to be a fun one for Anthony Popillo tomorrow night at the Radisson Convention Center in Southfield, Michigan. So you have that, but now we got to end today talking about my boy, my guy, the boss himself, Kamel Macklin. He has his fight in a couple weeks, 2 weeks away. Friday, April 18th, Good Friday. It's going to be a bad Friday for his opponent because he's going to get the win. Kamel Macklin is. And, I mean, this guy looks absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, I trained with him yesterday, and he just looks good. You know, he looks like he's in shape. You know, he's been training his ass off, sparring, you know, running. He even told me yesterday, you should do some running. And I was like, hell yeah, brother. You know, get back in shape a little bit. Get that endurance up. You know, build those legs up. And he told me it's a difference when you're fighting the elements, you know, cold, wet, snow, you know, blazing hot. There's nothing like it. So I definitely have to take his advice on that because that's awesome. But this guy's he's a beast, man. Yeah, he's a savage, and he's going to handle his business 2 weeks from now at the Hype Athletics Center in Dearborn, Michigan. To get your tickets now, I got my ticket. I forgot to bring it to me. I was going to show it to you guys. But if you didn't get your tickets now, just follow him on his social media handles at Macklin Kamel. It's his last name and then his first name. So follow him on Instagram. He's got TikTok. He's on Facebook too. So just follow him, message him, be like, hey, I need a couple tickets. We want to get a lot of people there, and we want a packed house for Kamel Macklin. He appreciates the support. I know he does. He's told me numerous times that he appreciates me coming to his fights. And, you know, of course, dude, you're my guy. Of course I'm going to make it to your fights. Why would I miss a fight? What do you think? I'm crazy or something? I mean, you're awesome, dude. So he has a second pro fight in a couple weeks, Friday, April 18th, at the Hype Athletics in Dearborn, Michigan. To get your tickets now, they're selling quick. So just message them on Facebook, message them on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you got to do, or come by New Way Training Center. It's on Hall Road, Mosley Street, right there by the Sanders building there. Building there, if you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm pretty, obviously the rest of the country doesn't know. But all you Michiganders out there, just east side of Hall Road, Mosley Street, and New Way Training Center is like in the way back. Come in, get your tickets. You know, you got to do it that way. But message him on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. It's going to be a hell of a fight. He's going to dominate. He looks absolutely fantastic, and it looks like he's moving to 2-0 on his professional boxing career. So you have that going on. 3 boxers out of New Way, Savantini, getting the party started Tuesday night, moving to 4-0 on her boxing career. Anthony Popillo's got his fight, his second pro fight tomorrow night at the Radisson Convention Center in Southfield, Michigan. And then 2 weeks from now, you got another New Way Training Center boxer, Kamel Macklin. He has his fight a couple weeks from now, Friday, April 18th, Good Friday, at Hype Athletics in Dearborn. 3 professional boxers, all coming out New Way, all look fantastic. And as I said last week, I see a clean sweep across the board for all these fighters coming out of New Way Training Center. So you have that going on as well. And with that being said, we're done. This is the end of the episode for Guys Time today. So thank you for joining me. You know, I got my Detroit Tigers hat on in preparation for opening day tomorrow, so watch that. But thank you for joining me as always. You guys are amazing. You already know the drill. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. This episode's going to be available. Check it out. Yeah, we covered baseball to open the show, which is insane, right? We covered the Final Four because those 4 games are going to be absolutely fantastic. And then some boxing news coming out of Clinton Township. New Way Training Center. 3 professional fighters. Clean sweep. Savantini, as I mentioned, got the party started Tuesday night with her 4th professional boxing victory. Moves on to 4-0 after that unanimous decision win Tuesday night. And then Anthony Papillo is going to handle his business tomorrow. And then 2 weeks from tomorrow, Kamel Macklin, my man, the guy, one of the best human beings I've ever been around with, he's going to handle his business as well 2 weeks from Friday at Hype Athletics in Dearborn, Michigan. He's going to move on to 2-0 as well. So thank you for joining me again. This episode is going to be available later today, so be on the lookout for that. And you guys have a great rest of your day. All right, peace out, guys. Have a good one.